Yin Xiao walks into royal politics, and every insult becomes another weapon against them. Spoiler warning. We are continuing the story after Yin Xiaoli has already stopped looking like a useless young master and started acting like someone far older, sharper, and more dangerous. The public still sees a teenager with a messy reputation, but the truth is uglier for his enemies. Inside him is the experience of Gu Feiyang, a former peak-level martial legend, and that means every test around him becomes a chance to expose how little everyone else understands. This stretch pushes him from sect pressure into family humiliation, royal ceremony, strange medicine, monster-level techniques, and one banquet where status matters until raw ability starts breaking the rules. Yin Xiao stands in a formal cultivation setting with too many eyes on him and too many people trying to measure him. The room expects a young master who can be cornered, but he answers with the calm of someone who has already survived worse. Purple energy begins gathering around him, and that changes the mood fast. Older men, a light-haired figure, and nearby witnesses shift from judgment into caution because the aura around him does not fit the weak image attached to his name. There are hints of arrays, sword talk, and refined technique, enough to make the observers wonder what kind of knowledge he is actually carrying. Then the pressure spikes. Golden light flares, the scene turns dangerous, and something huge and beast-like appears near the end. The test stops feeling political and starts feeling supernatural. The danger moves into a rough outdoor space, where a blonde young woman and Yun Xiao react to a threat that is no longer polite enough to stay hidden. A shadowy blue-purple presence pushes into the scene, and everyone around them has to decide whether this is a person, a spirit, or something worse. The older muscular men do not treat it lightly, and neither does the blonde woman. But here is the thing, Yin Xiao does not panic. He watches, reads the pressure, and steps into the center like he is already calculating the weakness in front of him. Names like Meng Wu and Meng Ba hang around the confrontation, and the argument seems personal enough to make the danger sharper. By the end, blue power swells into a monstrous dark form with a red core, and now the enemy has a face. After that, the story tightens into a room where Yun Xiao deals with a frightened blonde boy instead of a battlefield. And somehow, it feels just as dangerous. The boy is scared, apologizing, and clearly overwhelmed, while a green spectral force curls around him like a curse or sickness that can bite back at any moment. Yin Xiao treats it like a lesson. That is what makes it so brutal. He studies the energy, reaches toward it, and explains the path forward with the confidence of someone who knows pain is sometimes part of the cure. A small glowing item appears, possibly medicine or a cultivation aid, and the boy realizes this is not a simple rescue. It is training with consequences. Then a huge muscular man storms in, furious, and Yun Xiao has to answer for what he is doing. The tension breaks back into violence, starting with two young men speaking in a bright place before everything erupts into red and blue energy. A sweeping red force cuts across the field like a dragon-shaped attack, and people react because this is not ordinary sparring anymore. Yin Xiao becomes the focus again, standing against the chaos with that same cold expression that makes his enemies uncomfortable. Blue-white sword force answers the red surge, and the exchange turns fast, sharp, and messy. You can feel the difference between people who fight with anger and someone who fights with old memory behind every movement. After the clash, the scene shifts into a darker blue-toned space, where robed figures discuss what happened and rumors start forming around Yin Xiao. That is the real damage. The fight ends, but his reputation keeps moving. Now the story walks into a brighter trap, the annual banquet. Lanterns, crowds, nobles, companions, and recognition everywhere. Yin Xiao moves through the lively street, and people react because the so-called embarrassment of the Li family is suddenly showing up with confidence. There is a strange little exchange involving a woman's condition, and Yun Xiao seems to understand the problem with one glance, which makes him look less like a lucky fighter and more like someone with terrifying medical or cultivation insight. Then a blonde girl and a tall pink-haired woman make a flashy entrance, turning the mood almost comedic for a second. But the comedy does not last. Inside the banquet hall, princes, nobles, commanders, and alchemists gather, and the room begins testing whether Yunxiao even belongs there. He answers by making the first challengers regret asking. The banquet turns ugly before it becomes formal. Yunxiao clashes openly with nobles and guards, refusing to shrink just because the room is full of rank. Men move against him, and he knocks the threat aside with the kind of speed that embarrasses attackers more than it simply defeats them. Then a heavy red-haired authority figure enters, forcing everyone to remember where they are. The ceremony resets when Emperor Qinzheng arrives, and the hall bends into protocol. Nobles kneel, praise rises, and suddenly every insult has to wear a polite mask. But watch what Yunxiao does next. When gifts and rewards for the blue-haired princess become the center of attention, he presents a golden demon beast egg. The court mocks it as useless because the beast is dead, but Yunxiao insists value is not always obvious to fools. The banquet becomes a marriage trap when attendants present 10 dragon eye pearls, treasures so rare that the entire room understands the political weight behind them. The gift is not just jewelry. It carries cultivation value, status, and the pressure of a proposal wrapped in luxury. The red-haired princess listens as the pearls are praised, but she does not let the gift decide her life. She refuses, apologizing because her heart is already promised elsewhere, and that single choice humiliates the crown prince in public. He reacts like a man whose pride has been cut open. He presses the issue, demands to face the person she chose, and the room shifts from ceremony into emotional war. Then the past opens. Years ago, at Heavenly Night Palace, she was lonely and suffering until a boy named Gu Feiyang became unforgettable. That memory does not stay small. It pulls the story toward Heavenly Night Palace, where powerful elders and martial sovereign Fu she discuss pills, rankings, supreme martial names, and the kind of strength ordinary nobles should not even provoke. This is where the scale quietly explodes. The princess's refusal is not just romance, and Gu Feiyang is not just some old name she treasured. He is tied to a world of 9 heaven-level figures, frightening techniques, and histories that still shape how experts speak. When powerful people start measuring a dead or absent master with this much caution, you understand why Yunxiao's presence feels so dangerous. He is not only embarrassing young rivals. He is carrying echoes from a level of cultivation that the current court barely understands, and those echoes are starting to surface. The scale jumps again into a cosmic battlefield, where a golden fire wreathed swordsman tears through starry arrays toward a purple-winged opponent. This is not street-level payback anymore. This looks like legend, memory, and martial myth colliding in the sky. Energy trails cross the void, formations glow, and the golden fighter gathers everything into a decisive strike known as Star Strike Sword. A red-haired woman watching is shaken enough to activate a perception technique that lets her look deeper, and that reaction matters. She is not just watching a fight. She is trying to understand a past that still controls her present. The memory opens into snowy mountains, an academy-like place, and a black-haired youth tied to a dead master figure whose loyalty and power still haunt her. The old story is not buried. It is hunting everyone. Back at the formal gathering, the pressure changes shape again. Instead of blades, the challenge becomes performance, and Yunxiao is pulled into a setting where nobles and attendants watch to see whether he can be exposed in a different way. A blue-haired young woman pays close attention, almost eager to hear what he can do, while the guests whisper around him. Then a red-haired young woman sits before a guqin-like instrument and begins to play. The hall transforms. Butterflies, lotus flowers, wind, and petals bloom through the air until the court feels swallowed by spring itself. Senior observers recognize the technique and react with shock because this is not pretty entertainment. It radiates grandmaster-level presence. And the final declaration lands like a vow. She dances for someone who would overturn the heavens for her. What makes this stretch work is the escalation. Yunxiao starts by being underestimated in cultivation spaces, then survives monster pressure, medical suspicion, martial challenges, family insults, royal politics, and finally artistic technique. Every scene asks the same question in a different costume. Is he really just a talented teenager, or is something ancient looking out through his eyes? The court keeps trying to judge him by birth, invitation, rank, and reputation, but those systems fail whenever real knowledge appears. The most dangerous part is not that Yun Xiao can fight. It is that his past as Gu Feiyang keeps leaking into the present through people, memories, techniques, and loyalties that nobody at the banquet fully understands yet. Subscribe for the next recap, because this banquet is turning into a legend trap.